pontoon on a lake in Guatemala, a hostel and a bar built at the edge of it, only accessible by boat, volcanoes on the horizon, and a small group of strangers standing on that pontoon, waiting to unload the supplies from the boat that you're arriving on, waiting to welcome you. That place, small and remote and almost invisible from anywhere back home, taught me more about what hospitality actually is than a decade of running a UK top 50 bar could ever have. And in this video, I want to tell you all about it. Because I think if you're running a hospitality business right now, or building towards one, or feeling like you've lost sight of what any of it was really supposed to be about, this is the story that might help you find your way back. Welcome to the Lead Well channel, where we explore the inner world of leadership, well-being, and what it means to build a business and a life that doesn't break you. My name's Trevor, and I've run a multi-award winning restaurant and cocktail bar, but I didn't come from a hospitality background. I built the business from the ground on up, learning as I went, figuring it out in real time. Now, this one is different from the usual videos on this channel. There's less framework, less diagnostic, and it's more about the formative experience that shaped everything that I built afterwards. Because sometimes the most useful thing a founder can do is step back from all the strategy and remember what they were actually trying to build in the first place. This video is about the place that gave me the final piece of inspiration I needed to open Oko Rocco, and more importantly, the place that showed me what the word hospitality is actually supposed to mean, because I carried that lesson home and I built my business around it, and it made all the difference. I want to give you enough context to place this properly, and then I'll get straight to the part of the story that matters. I was traveling through Central America in a research phase of what would eventually become Oko Rocco, my restaurant and bar in Bournemouth. Mexico and Belize behind me, Guatemala in front of me, making my way slowly back up to Mexico City, which was my final planned stop before flying home. And along the way, I'd heard about a hostel, bar, and dive center on the edge of Lake AtitlÃ, only accessible by boat, that people spoke about with a strange kind of reverence when they mentioned it. I wanted to see it. I reached out to a place called Iguana Perdida and asked if they needed a volunteer for a short period, and they said yes. Before I made my way there, I stopped in the city of Antigua and enrolled in a 2-week intensive Spanish course, 6 hours a day with a teacher who didn't speak a single word of English, and nearly broke my brain, but it worked. My Spanish improved fast enough that I felt able to arrive somewhere off the beaten track without being completely lost. And then I packed up and I crossed the country to find them. I didn't know it at the time, but the people I was about to meet and the culture I was about to be absorbed into would change my entire direction of my life. Lake AtitlÃ is one of the most beautiful places that I have ever seen in my life. It's vast enough that you can't see the other side, surrounded by mountains and volcanoes, and on certain days the waves get strong enough that it feels more like an ocean than a lake. Dave, one of the owners of La Iguana, he arranged to pick me up at a port on the far side. He was there collecting supplies. He said I could travel back with him on the boat, so the two of us crossed the open water of the lake together, moving towards a small pontoon that served as the only way onto the site. The moment I stepped off that boat, I was surrounded. Staff and volunteers had come out to help unload the supplies and welcome me in. Within what felt like no time at all, I had been absorbed into the heart of the place, not received as a guest, but absorbed as one of them. That absorption is the first thing I want you to notice, because it's the opposite of how most hospitality operates. Most venues receive people. La Iguana absorbed them, and the difference between those two things is one of the most important things that this video is really about. I worked across every part of the business: tables, the bar, handling inquiries, occasionally taking guests out to dive on the water, which brought its own challenges. I spent months diving off the Caribbean coast before this, perfect visibility to 40 or 50 meters, warm, clear water, the kind of diving that spoils you. Lake AtitlÃ was a completely different world. Visibility of 4 or 5 meters on a good day, silt everywhere, a constant need to stay close to the group so that you don't lose each other in the murk. It took me a while to reach the level I needed to be to lead people through it safely. But once I did, the lake gave things back that I hadn't expected. Underwater hot springs from the volcanoes around the water that was warm enough that you could cook an egg in them, and visible temperature ripples running through the water around you as you swam past. And because the lake level had risen about 20 meters over the last few years, the lower floors of most of the buildings around the edges were completely submerged. You could swim up to an underwater kitchen and lean against the breakfast bar as if you just walked in from another room. The whole place was sitting there perfectly preserved beneath the water. None of that's the point of this video, but I mention it because it captures something about the place. Everything about La Iguana was slightly stranger and slightly richer than the standard version, including, and this is the part that matters, the way it looked after the people who came through it. Before I go any further, I want to mention the Lead Well Sprint. If you're a hospitality founder who is carrying more than most people around you realize, and you know something has to change, this is the entry point to working with me properly. It's 4 weeks, 1 hour a week, focused work with founders who are ready to start rebuilding the foundation underneath everything that they've built. It starts with a free call so that we can talk through what you're carrying and whether the sprint is a right fit for you. And if any of this is landing for you, head to the website, the link's in the description. Let's get back to the video. Dave and Deedle were the owners of Iguana. They became two of the most significant people that I met through my entire trip. Not because they were charismatic in the way the word usually gets used, but because they ran the operation with clinical efficiency, because of what they had built into the culture of the place. I was taken in and welcomed by some of the freest and most generous people that I've ever had the good fortune to meet. It felt like a genuine family. There was a warmth and an ease of being around them that I hadn't realized I'd been longing for. And it took me a little while to understand what they had done at Iguana that was not the standard version of a business at all. It was something more fundamental than that. They had built a place where the people around you were the whole point of the thing, rather than a byproduct of it. That sentence is one that carries this video, and it's a sentence that shaped everything that I eventually built at Oco Roco, because until then I had thought of hospitality the way most people in the industry think of it: a service to be delivered, a product to be offered, a transaction however well dressed up. Dave and Deedle showed me what a business could look and feel like when it was built around people rather than in spite of them. That reframe is what I carried home, and it changed everything that I did next. When it came to leave, they knew I was traveling with very little money, and they knew I wouldn't have accepted anything if they had offered it directly. So they didn't offer it directly. Everyone at Iguana put together contributions, cash from every member of staff and every volunteer there, and they put it in an envelope and quietly slipped it into my bag while I was packing up without telling me, so that I could experience some of the things I'd otherwise have to skip on the rest of my journey, so that the final leg of my trip wouldn't be limited to just what was left in my wallet. I found the envelope on a chicken bus when I was leaving Lake AtitlÄ, and I cried for a good while after. It wasn't just gratitude, it was recognition. Recognition of what a group of people had chosen to do for someone who could offer them nothing in return, purely because that was the kind of community that they had built. Recognition that a place like this existed in the world. Recognition that this was the thing I wanted to try to create back home in whatever form that I could manage for as long as I could manage to hold on to it. I'd gone to Guatemala looking for research for a business idea, and I came away with something bigger than that. A demonstration of what a business could actually be for, and a receipt, quite literally in my hands, of what happens when people choose to look after each other regardless of whether anyone is keeping score. I want to close with what all of this actually means for the years that follow, because this isn't just a nice story, it's the story that made everything else possible. Everything I built at Oco Roco in the years afterwards was directly inspired by what I had experienced at Iguana. The family feel, the respect for the people who worked there, the sense that the customer walked through the door was someone to be absorbed into what we were doing, not just served. The staff who stayed for years because the place felt like theirs as much as mine. The customers who came back for their anniversaries even after they'd moved away. The love that came back to us in the final weeks before closure, all of it, every bit of it, the downstream of Dave and Deedle and that pontoon in Guatemala. And here is what I want you, the founder watching this, to take from all of that. Real hospitality is not a service. It is a felt experience of belonging. And the founders who build businesses around that principle produce something that the metric-focused version of the industry cannot replicate. The margins might be tight. The systems might be imperfect, and some weeks the numbers might not tell the story that you want them to. But the thing that lives at the center of it, the culture, the family, the sense that this place is a genuine home for the people who come through it, is what actually lasts. It's what people remember. It's what they come back for. It's what makes them tell their friends. It's what makes the difference between a venue and a place. You don't need to travel to Guatemala to find that. You need to remember that it exists, that the version of hospitality that you first fell in love with, the version that made you want to open a venue in the first place, is still available to you. You can build it. And when the operational noise of the industry gets the loudest, this is what you're actually supposed to be building for. 12 years later, that place still lives in my bones, in everything that I built, in everything I'm still trying to build now. Dave and Deedle showed me what was possible. I carried it home, and the version of hospitality I built at Oco Roco was my best attempt at honoring what they had taught me. If you're building or running a venue right now and it's starting to feel more like a system than a place, this is your reminder of what it's actually supposed to be. The metric will not be what people remember about your venue. The way that you made them feel will be. Build for that. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like and a subscribe. It helps me, it helps the channel, and it helps people like us find the content that really matters. And as always, I'd love to remind you that you matter too. Don't forget that.